All right, everyone. It's, of course, KEMPIRE Radio. It's a KEMPIRE Radio special. We are live on a Tuesday night, but I have a new, really great show that I've been watching. Forget about Love and Hip Hop and all these other ratchet television shows. We are all concerned about our love lives, aren't we? We're always talking about it here on the radio show. So I found a really great new show called The Singles Project on Bravo. I'm in love with it. I love the characters, but there's just one character that I love the most. So much so that I tweeted her and I said, oh my God, I have to have you on our show. Please welcome for the very first time to KEMPIRE Radio, Kerry Cassidy, star of The Singles Project. What's going on, Kerry?
Woohoo! Thank you, Wisconsin. No, what's going on? Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy that you guys love the show.
Kerry, first, we love the show, but you really grabbed our attention. I'm calling you pretty much like Carrie from Sex and the City. You just have such a great personality. It reads so well on television. But I do know.
Thanks so much.
I do know, because it's, for those that are not familiar with the show, the Singles Project is pretty much is following these bunch of singles where social media gets directly involved in the process of the dating, and you can comment and gear the dates, in any which way that we the viewers enjoy. How did you get involved?
Actually, it's totally dependent on the viewer interaction, which is so cool and so different.
Definitely, and I think that's one of the highlights of the show, and I think that's why it's become so popular. How did you get involved in this project?
Production contacted me, just some people that I had been in touch with for various projects in the past, and they asked me about this, and really, the first thing they said was, "Are you still single?" And then they presented this, this idea, and really what grabbed my attention was the social media aspect and the real-time aspect, which is totally new in the U.S. It's big in the U.K., and it's a groundbreaking show for those reasons, that we are filming just a week before, and viewers actually help us decide everything from what to wear to who to date. So that was really what sort of hooked me in.
Wow. I mean, I have to say, for all of you that are a part of this project, I have to say it takes a lot of bravery to do something like that, especially with everyone with their comments and their tweets and things like that. How's the process been so far for you? Are you any regrets?
I don't have any regrets. It's funny because it's all fun and games till it actually starts. It's sort of like this great idea, and we're all in these meetings, and we're like, oh, and then this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and before you know it, you're walking into a restaurant or wherever, and all these cameras are following you, and people are staring at you, and you're already in the awkward situation of being on a date with someone, and then times 50 because there's cameramen around, and of course that draws kind of a scene. No regrets. I am really loving just being a part of something so different and getting to share myself and my personality and my experience dating with all the viewers. But it's definitely, they can describe it as much as they want on a piece of paper, but really once it started going, I think we were all like, oh, wait a second. Oh, I don't know. We didn't realize we had to be so brave. That was part of the challenge. So, it's definitely been different than I thought it would be, but in the best way.
Definitely. One of the things that, that I noticed is that with this particular, with all the singles and whatnot, like I said, it does take a form of bravery, but for you, your personality amongst, everyone has their own personality on the show, but for you, I know it's just like, oh my goodness, this person has such an incredible personality. What exactly do you do for a living?
I'm actually an art consultant, so I work on both sides of the art world and sort of business and art. I work for artists, so I help them put on shows, sell their work. I curated a gallery this year on Nantucket, which is where I normally summer when I'm not filming the Singles Project. And I also work with buyers, so collecting, investing, etc. And so I work with a range of personalities all the time, and I think that I can get along with most people, at least make it through a date with most people. And I do have a really outgoing personality, which has helped me in sales and whatnot, and reaching different types of people. So I think that comes across in the show. But
Definitely.
I'm also just I'm an only child and kind of like was always entertaining myself and kind of a zany little character myself, which is funny because I even cringe watching the show sometimes. I'm like, what was I doing? And you'd think that maybe I was playing it up or whatever, but that is literally how I act every second of the day. God help whoever ends up with me. So, I think that is maybe, just right for TV in that way that I'm sort of shameless almost.
It's very refreshing. It's very genuine, and I think that's why people are going to connect with you. And I'm always saying I feel like you should be doing so many other things on television, because I think that's some of the greatest people you see on television are those that you're able to relate to, that you can connect to, and that you have that energy. But I know that on Twitter, and you mentioned it on the show, that there were some people when after the first episode, they were saying your voice was a little, what was the word that they used?
I know that there was one particular word. I think it was annoying, horrible, horrifying. I don't think there was just one adjective that was linked to it. Yeah, they're just saying it was pretty annoying. And you know what? It's funny because I don't hear my voice the same way that other people do. And I don't, I do kind of almost cringe hearing my own voice, but I've lived 28 years now, and that has never been an issue in my life, so it was kind of funny. And I think what it really was we are taking, I talk and I'll do voices and kind of be exaggerated and this and that a lot during the day. And taking, let's say, a week's worth of stuff and condensing it down to 15 minutes, they can really get a lot of that. And there were times when even I was like, oh, my Lord, enough. You know what I mean? Like, I could see how people could say that. And after, kind of looking back at the episodes and reading more of the feedback, I realized that I think it was more my inflection. And I think it's very easy to pin me as, like, the mean girl and sort of this spoiled brat. And I think people just took that plus the way I was talking from episode 1 and really made a stamped judgment. And I think as this series has gone on, people have seen more to my personality, which, thank God, I don't know who could show their entire personality in one episode. And so I think people have really lightened up and opened up to me a lot more, thank goodness.
I'm glad, because from the very first episode, I loved you. I was like, oh my God, I love her. She's my favorite.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I think there's some people who relate right away to certain people and others who are more skeptical. And I myself am usually on the more skeptical side, so I can understand where a lot of these people are coming from. And that's fair enough. We want the viewer input. I'm not going to change my voice. It's a little late in my life for that. But, I think a lot of people sort of, at least from what I thought, a lot of people kind of retracted their statements after they heard me a little bit more. Yeah. You're not cute and funny and kidding all the time. Sometimes you're serious, and sometimes you're, being really intuitive, and sometimes, so once you get to see more, that really, grasped onto other parts of people's personalities that they could relate to, that they hadn't at first.
Well, what has been, speaking of, what people are saying on social media and things like that, what has been some of the craziest or the funniest things that you've been tweeted or commented about?
Well, I have, I don't know about maybe crazy people. All of the feedback pretty much has either been constructive, or people relating, and then there's the, I really love you, I'm crazy, I just have a Twitter account to tweet you, and I'm probably outside your front door, and then I hate you, be? You know, so there's a few of the, you know, extremes, and then for the most part, it's people who are living in New York, who are around our age, who can relate to the show, because dating in New York is scary and is kind of a nail-biting nightmare. And we're just doing it in front of everybody. And I think that's almost like refreshing, because it is, as uncomfortable as it is, people really have been in that situation.
Definitely. And I think that's one of the greatest things about this series. If you guys just tuned in, it's, of course, KEMPIRE Radio Special. We're here with Kerry Cassidy from Bravo's new show, The Singles Project. First of all, Kerry, like I said, I love you on the show, and I want to definitely talk about some of the your other castmates. But, you know, the biggest thing that I want to get, because as you were just saying about, you know, dating in New York and now dating in New York, you know, behind, you know, in front of cameras is a whole nother ball game. But what is your ultimate goal here? You know, do you want to get married? You know, what is the goal for you personally with this Singles Project?
You know, something that the show has touched on and is a big part of my life, and really my role model, is my parents' marriage. They are still sort of, I'll walk in on them kind of like making out and making each other laugh till they cry, and they've been married 30 years. And I would love, my ultimate goal would be to be married and have a bunch of kids and really have that kind of a home life. Growing up in this generation, a lot of my views have sort of changed. I've started to think, well, maybe I could be okay, single girl in the city forever. Or maybe, you know, but really the model that people grow up in different types of homes. And so the model in their minds is different. But mine, I have such a beautiful couple in front of me. And I'm the only child, so I'm very close with my parents. And so that, for me, is the ultimate goal, would be to marry someone that is my best friend, that is, you know, really a loyal companion to grow old with, and to hopefully have some kids, you know, and grandkids and whatnot, you know.
Yeah, and you know,
a million more Kerrys running around. A million more kids that look like me that don't shut up.
But, you know, speaking of, you know, finding that person that you will have these many Kerrys with, Trip, you had an amazing date with Trip last week. Can we talk about it? You seemed like you really connected with him. Can you just tell us about it?
Well,
Go ahead.
Yes, I actually, it's so funny because at first, and this sounds kind of absurd, but at first when we were on this date, I thought, oh gosh, what am I getting myself into? And it was all kind of last minute and strange, and I didn't know. And then we were deep in Chinatown at this restaurant, not where you'd really take a first date, especially I don't even like Chinese food. So it was kind of, the whole thing was just kind of strange. I was with my friend, and that's not really romantic when you're on a double date. But after like 5 minutes, I thought, oh, this is a joke. Like, they hired this person to act like we have all these things in common. I was like, and this is like, they're messing with me, because he was just not only understanding sort of my humor and my person, but really reciprocating. And it was almost like he could finish my sentences 5 seconds after we met.
Wow.
And the group of the four of us was really, really good. Like, it was like we'd been going out, the four of us, forever, and we're kind of just laughing until we cried almost the entire date. I never laughed so long and so hard with anyone ever in my whole life, and I laugh a lot, and so that was really refreshing and gave me a lot of faith in this process, because he did come in through the show. And so that's why I thought, like, this isn't real. There's no way. This is kind of just like they're just trying to make this person, you know, act like me, and we're going to have all these things in common to sort of enhance the show. I don't know. It just seems too unreal.
Yeah.
And since then, which you'll see, which you've seen tonight, is another date that we went on. And right now with Trip, I'm sort of deciding whether it's really romantic or it's you know, or if he's just literally like my soul sister. Because it is strange for me. I've always, and this is what's cool about this show too, is that you're dating people you wouldn't normally date. And he is not somebody I would normally see myself with. And also, for many reasons, but the main one being that his personality is so similar to mine, and I've sort of always dated the opposite of myself. You know, very, very quiet, and I would sort of steal the show. So it's interesting having two me's in a room.
I can only imagine.
Exactly. So, I mean, glasses are literally shattering. The floor is shaking. So, I mean, that's where we're at now, but that was very, very cool, and really showed how real this show is, and how much social interaction and social media has to do with our futures these days, because if it weren't for this social media interaction, I never would have met him.
Wow. You know, it's
cool.
It's funny because when I was tweeting live with our listeners, and we try to do it every week, and you said your ideal man was a businessman. And I said, Kerry, really?
Yeah. Well, I sort of picture this, like, he's wearing a pink button-up shirt, and he's sort of like really preppy but like manly, and he just kind of runs things, and I don't know, I just thought this, like, I don't know, a combination of all the different sexy attributes that I've found in people over the years. And really, when somebody says even describe your ideal man, it's sort of silly. I mean, I'm not making him out of clay. So yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I pictured myself with, because that's what I've mostly been around.
Yeah.
And also, working with artists, I've worked with artists that have sacrificed so much of a home life to be a successful artist. And to me, it's kind of tragic, you know, like, they've really given up a lot. And so I would never have seen myself, or they're just totally crazy, but I would have never really seen myself with an artist either, you know, most especially. A businessman goes to a pretty traditional job, and I grew up in a house where my dad got up and went to work in the morning and came home at night. And so to me, that was sort of a model that I'm familiar and comfortable with. So yeah, but at the same time, if you look at me, I think, you know, I need someone who's gonna challenge and sort of maybe compete with me to put me in my place. So I guess that could be any type of guy, but I had always thought it was just going to be very traditional.
So, and that brings me to, you know, my other question is that, you know, from being in this process, because the process has really just begun. It's only been a couple of weeks since the series started. You know, what have you learned about yourself? The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Well, I've learned that. Let's see. I've learned what colors work for me and what don't. No, I'm just kidding. No, really. What something that I had learned, which I knew about myself, but I really need to improve on, and it was, especially when it was shown to me, was that I will oftentimes leave a date knowing very little about my companion. I don't think I always ask enough questions, or someone will keep asking me questions, and rather than sort of turn the tables, I'll just keep answering them, sort of talking about myself, and talking is comfortable for me. So I sort of yada, 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 and then I leave not really even knowing who I just went out with, or more about them than I did really from the first 5 minutes to the last 5 minutes. So that's definitely a big problem for me. And another thing is not dating just one type of person. I mean, going out on different dates. And dating is, I thought dating was, if it was just fun and games and you were doing it right, if it was uncomfortable, you were doing it wrong. And that's really not the case. You have to actually push yourself, go to different places, do different things, get your butt out of your house and get dressed, and try, you know, and not be discouraged the first time or the second time, and actively date if you really want to see what's out there. And to me, I just always thought, if they're not banging down my door, then it's really not meant to be. And that's kind of ridiculous, but that is sort of how I live.
Wow. And I think a lot of the listeners right now are going to be able to relate to what you just said. And I think what you just said is really profound. And that's part of the reason why I really do love the Singles Project on Bravo. But let's talk about your other co-stars on Bravo, and I want to hear your comments. But what rang a bell for me is when you were talking about the artists and what they sacrificed. Let's talk about Joey's date with Werner, the artist.
Oh yeah.
What were your thoughts on that date?
I didn't think that they had so much chemistry. I don't know. I thought that you know, this is what's interesting about the show. Many times you meet people, you think they're cute, they're nice, and you go out with them based on that. That doesn't mean that the date, you know, that you're really super compatible, or that it's really going to be much more of just meeting and finding out more about them. I don't think they, you know, had too much in common. I also thought it was a little strange. And I know that I've been out on dates with different types of people, like fishermen, and then they're like, here, let me show you all the big albacores I caught. And I'm like, okay, pictures on your phone and the guts and the blood, and he had some of that on there. And just, you know, and I thought that was, I don't think that they knew enough about each other to even really be going out on that first date, almost, because I don't think that, you know, it was fine, but, yeah, I don't think, you know, we'll be seeing those two together.
I don't think so. You know, but speaking of Joey, you know, that he had the first date with Anthony, and how that ended up. What did you think about the bar scene where, you know, Anthony confronts him at the bar and Joey goes running?
You know, well, first of all, when Joey went on that first date, I was talking with my mom, and we were both like, well, the show's over for Joey. He's found his match. They're going to get married next week. Goodbye. Like, it really did seem like they had a real spark. Mm-hmm. But I think oftentimes that, and Joey, I think, and I are both guilty of this, oftentimes there's like this physical spark, and then that sort of can fizzle faster. So it's almost better when you are a little bit unsure how attracted you are to the person, or, you know, or you think they're handsome or beautiful, but you're not really sure where this is going to go. And they really just had a really strong attraction physically to each other. And then I thought Joey was super brave and did what I didn't think I would be able to do in that situation, which was not give up on the process, kind of keep looking, even though he had found someone who was a good match, you know, was a decent match. And so that being said, when it came to the bar scene, this show is with 6 cast members. It's an hour long. It's filmed in real time. I'm not sure what transpired off screen, because Anthony did say that that there was some sort of, like, Joey had messaged him. But I think perhaps, you know, I think it was ballsy of Anthony to go there. I think he knew there'd be cameras, and Joey felt really uncomfortable. And I know that on my second date with Chris, I felt really uncomfortable and wanted to get up and leave several times during the date. And instead, I sort of just had to, like, sit in my own vomit, you know what I mean? Like, I just had to sit there and, like, hang out because there's all these cameras around us. And Joey is, you know, sort of more dramatic and just had it and left. And I could see where both of them were coming from. I could see where Anthony was coming from, kind of wanting to know more. I've left relationships a million times where people haven't wanted to go out with me again. And I'm like, wait, explain. You know what I mean? Yeah. And
been there, done that.
Right, and sometimes you don't always get that perfect closure. And so I don't think it was the time or the place, but I understand where he was coming from, and I definitely understand where Joey was. He just wanted to jump out of his skin, and it felt like, oh my gosh, I'm having this great night. It's my event. You know, I've called people to come to this place, and now all of a sudden, a dark storm cloud. You know, like he just didn't want to deal with that night. So I understand where both of them were coming from. And I'm glad I wasn't there. Because it would have been hard to choose, you know, to choose sides. And I think it was uncomfortable for everybody after that.
Definitely. It seems like a very uncomfortable situation. If you guys just tuned in, this is, of course, KEMPIRE Radio special. We are airing right after Bravo's The Singles Project. We're here with one of the stars, Kerry Cassidy. Don't forget, you can link everyone to tonight's show at KEMPIREradio.com, or you can listen via our free Live 365 app. Kerry, the other characters on the show that I want to ask you about, Ericka Pittman and Dr. Lee, and that whole situation.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yes.
What do you think about that?
Well, I am big fans of both of theirs. Mm-hmm. Ericka was actually the first person that I sort of like clicked with, and we exchanged numbers and whatnot. I really, really love her to death. And Lee is probably like one of the people I'm the closest with. We really get along and make each other laugh. And when I was watching the show, I almost fell off my chair when I didn't realize that those two were that close, and that they sort of ran to each other for solace after they both had bummer dates. Yeah. And I was on the edge of my seat. They sort of had Ericka batting her lashes and Lee smiling, and I was like, oh my gosh, they're going to kiss. Why didn't anybody tell me? I feel so left out. What's going on? And my heart was pumping really fast. I was about to fall off my chair. And whether or not that was just two people in this experience kind of comforting each other, or if there's a real spark there, I don't know. And at my party when they were chatting, it seems like, and where they left it, off there, it seems like they're not really sure how they feel either, and that maybe Lee wants to give it a shot, And so I don't know if that's just two people in this crazy experience, so therefore they're kind of like finding a common ground, or if there's really something romantic there.
How do you feel about her?
I would love to see them together. That would make me really happy, and it would make me have, only one place to send my Christmas cards, and it would make life a lot easier. So, I would love to see them together.
It's all about whatever makes Kerry's life easier. It's all about you, Kerry.
Exactly. It's not about them at all. Oh.
But how do you feel about Ericka and Francesco? They seem to have a lot of chemistry.
I think, and I was talking with some of Ericka's friends, too, at my party, and, they do have a lot of chemistry, and we were saying that, it's his sort of, like, swagger, his European attitude that is very charming and different, and sort of can take control over Ericka, who is, a very bold person. But I don't know, I felt like, and I mean, I'm totally speaking out of turn, but I felt a little bit uncomfortable on their dates. I didn't feel like I felt like it was a little bit, they're both like beautiful people, and it's a beautiful setting, and everything's supposed to be amazing, but I didn't feel like that was her match. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like
I'm really liking your perspective, Kerry.
Crazy spark. Right. I mean, I just think that they're both like so beautiful, and they're both sort of fabulous, and they were having these, they've been having these nice dates, and they've been enjoying the evening, but I don't see some like long-term real spark. I don't know. And also sort of the way it started was a little uncomfortable, obviously.
Definitely.
So I don't know.
My fellow Staten Islander, Brian, I didn't even know he's from Staten Island. You couldn't tell with his great fashion sense. What are your thoughts on his dates?
Oh, poor Brian. Well, his first dates, I just say poor Brian because his first two dates were really not matches for him.
No.
And God bless their hearts for those girls, but I think it was sort of, again, it's the whole social media aspect, and these people were basing their compatibility with him on very few factors. Yeah. So really, they weren't going on much. And then after that, I thought Brian had met somebody he really liked, and I think like he's said, which is he's gone out with some great people, but nothing's really stuck.
Yeah.
And so, I think Brian's still on his search, but he's getting better about what he's looking for. You know what I mean? He's starting to really learn what is maybe going to really work in the long term for him. And I think he's ready for a serious girlfriend. He's come very far in his life, and I would love to see him and me dating. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, Kerry, maybe. Look.
I'm just kidding. No, I'm just joking because everybody likes to sort of pit us against each other. And he's a smoker, so I will not be dating him. But no, I would love to see him really find somebody. And I think that he's, it's gotten better for him because he went on these really not so great dates in the beginning, and then it's sort of gotten better.
Yeah.
So I think, Brian could be getting closer and closer, itching to, get that one. He could be really getting warmer and warmer. We could see him find somebody soon. I don't know.
Uh-oh, Kerry.
I'm like, we're engaged. No, I'm just kidding. Could you imagine?
Like, what? I can't pronounce her name. I know I'm going to mess up her name. The dermatologist. How do you pronounce her name? Tabitha. Beautiful name. Okay, let's quickly talk about it. I know we don't have you for much longer, but Tabitha, what's going on with her? I felt bad for her during the whole Francesco and Ericka situation. That was just kind of like awkward. But
yeah, that was awkward, and I think there was a little bit of pride involved. You know what I mean? Whereas normally she might just be like, oh, forget about it. But you've got to see this guy again, and there's cameras around. So I think there was definitely an element of sort of pride involved. Yeah. Tabitha we have such similar family values. Whoever gets her is going to be one lucky dog.
Yeah.
And the thing is, she really needed to have the entire world looking at her go out with another 23-year-old model to say, you have to stop doing this. And we've seen it, and you can't do that anymore. And she's trying to take that advice, and she went on a great date with Vidant, and he was so gracious. He was such a gracious date. I really liked him a lot because even though they didn't have the spark, they were both just really mature and gracious is the best way to describe it, about parting ways. And so I think that she's going to need to go out with a lot more people closer to what is really going to meet her needs before she finds, that one. And I think her sister is there, thank goodness, to knock the sense into her and to help her find better matches. But she has been, ruling people out in her mind before meeting them, which I think a lot of us do. Definitely. Especially in the digital age where we look them up and we've decided already what we like and don't like about them, which is really very unfair. And then gone out with these people that were sort of had their lives less figured out than her, which is really who she'd been dating in the past. So I'm just hoping that, and the Francesco thing was just awkward, and I don't think, normally she would have thought about it twice, but having to watch it back and just how I think it kind of reignited that she was maybe a little offended.
Yeah.
But I hope and really have, high hopes for who she will find, and hopefully she'll keep on the right track and not just give up and start, going out with these people that are not ready to settle down like she is.
Definitely. Thanks, Dr. Kerry. I think that's the great.
And that'll be $3.95. No.
And I think that's the great thing about this show. First of all, I love it because it's based here in New York City, but I also love it because it really gives different perspectives on dating. And everything you said during our interview, I think a lot of people can take a lot from, because I've taken a lot from it. And I think a lot of people can take a lot from the show itself, the Singles Project. And I'm excited. First of all, before I let you go, what did your mother think of Trip? I felt he had handled that so well for meeting the mother on the second date, pretty much.
I know. You know what? My mom is really, she's funny and sarcastic like me, but she's a really accepting and inviting person.
Okay.
And she's sort of snarky like me in the way that we'll, like, kind of just make fun of life and the crazy situations we're in.
Mm-hmm.
But she would never do anything but encourage me to go out with someone that I liked, and then she would do nothing but tell me that she would beat them up if I didn't like them. So she's a perfect mom, and I know she wants to protect me and wants the best things for me, and I think that even now me doing the show, my parents are probably both more protective because they see how everyone can be, how people can react on social media, and how immediate and really decisive, very black and white about things people can be without really knowing any facts. So I think my parents are almost more frightened for me that people will be in it for the right reasons, but they're also more hopeful because they do see these characters coming out of the woodwork that are great people that I might never have met.
What did your mother think of Trip?
I think she likes him in a way that she thinks he's a gentleman, and she thinks he's very polite, and she would be the first one to say that she doesn't know him enough to make any sort of a judgment, anything but really kind of very surface-based.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she's also concerned in a way because he sort of has this alternative, not alternative lifestyle, but being an artist, it's an unconventional job, and it can be taxing. And she knows, the art world from my perspective, which is dealing with some difficult characters and some people who have, as I say, given up a lot to make their careers, to really see their careers through. Mm-hmm. And so I think she has concerns just like any mom would, but I think that she thinks he's very polite and a perfect gentleman. She definitely wants him to cut his hair and shave his beard.
I think we all do.
My parents are so funny. They're so against facial hair, even more so than the long hair. I think it's a generational thing. So, but that's all she really has to say about it at this point.
Kerry, we will be watching you as you go on this journey. The Singles Project airs on Bravo every Tuesday night. We appreciate you being here on the show. And since you live here in New York City, I'm sure we're going to run into each other. And I'm excited to see how...
Oh, we will.
I'm excited to see how this season unfolds. And we're just going to call you Dr. Kerry because you gave out a lot of great perspectives and advice, not only for yourself, but for other people.
Good. I hope everybody was taking notes. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, Steph, we're going to be posting Kerry's information so you guys can follow her on Twitter and all that good stuff. It's, of course, a KEMPIRE Radio special here on KEMPIREradio.com.